you again. Thank you for joining us for the Meet the Authors live session of Black Women in Educational Leadership. I am your host, Dr. Sharon H. Porter, and this live session is both personal and purposeful. We are tonight celebrating the voices, the brilliance, and the lived experiences of Black women educational leaders. And this is often while carrying invisible labor, navigating systemic barriers, and still creating spaces where students and educators can thrive. I am honored to be joined today by the visionary author as well as several of the contributing authors of this powerful book collaboration, Black Women in Educational Leadership. This book releases March 2026. Yes, just 2 months away from the release of this dynamic collaboration. This work is more than a collection of chapters. It is a testament to resilience, to vision, and to scholarship. So settle in as we hear directly from these amazing leaders about their journeys, their chapters, and the lessons they hope gain from this and will help guide the next generation of leaders. So before we get into our conversation, I'm going to ask our authors to introduce themselves. We are going to start with our amazing visionary author, Dr. Latrice Younger.
Thank you, Dr. Sharon Porter. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to my colleagues. Good evening to everyone who's able to sign in and participate. My name is Dr. Latrice Younger. I am presently a middle school principal in Richmond City, Virginia. I'm excited to be on this evening, and I can't wait for us to have this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Younger. And next, Miss Danny Gray.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle Danny Gray, and I am in Cincinnati, Ohio. This is my 29th year in education. Currently, I am an assistant principal in a suburban district in Cincinnati.
Awesome. Thank you. And Dr. Keena Bradley.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Keena Bradley, and I am the Executive Director of Employee Relations and Classified Staffing in Houston, Texas, and Aldine ISD. And I have about 30 years of educational experience and just super excited to be able to share my story. So thank you, Dr. Porter, Dr. Younger. Thank you for this space.
Absolutely. Thank you. Dr. Verinda Williams.
And greetings and salutations, everybody. I am Verinda Williams. This is my 26th year in education overall. Currently, I serve as an assistant principal at a high school in Southeast Texas, in the Port Arthur ISD. So I am just excited about this experience. Thank you so much, Dr. Porter, Dr. Younger, for the amazing work that you do.
I love it. And guys, while we have questions for the authors, we do not want to leave you out as our amazing audience. So please use the Q&A chat if you have questions for specific authors or just in general. And we will be sure to add those to the queue while we have this hour to just learn more about what the chapters are about, what the book is about in totality, and the journeys of these amazing authors. And I am going to have to start with the visionary. And so most of us know, Dr. Younger, that you actually your research, your dissertation research was on Black women educators. You are the founder of the nonprofit Black Women in Educational Leadership. Can you tell us or speak to why you feel this is necessary, number one, which leads to why you founded the organization, which leads to why you did your dissertation research, because it all ties in together.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that background. I wouldn't have done it on my own. I will just, I guess, begin with letting everyone know the premise of my dissertation work was based off of my own lived experience. I didn't share how many years I've been in education because sometimes I forget. I've been in education now for 18 years. No, this is 26, 19 years. As an assistant principal in a pretty suburban / rural school division. It was a predominantly white school division. I had some experiences as a Black female assistant principal within my school that kind of led me to believe that there were some things about my leadership and my style of having conversation, authentic conversation with folks that may have just been misunderstood. And I noticed just in general that sometimes things that I would share would not be as well received as maybe one of my counterparts who happen to be white females, and it'd be the exact same thing. And so I knew that for some people, they just had a very difficult time sort of taking directive from, leaning into, taking any kind of recommendations from maybe a Black female if that's not something that they've been accustomed to. And it just led me to believe that there were just some contextual things that I needed to work through in myself to make sure that I understood who I was as a leader, so that I could be able to be my authentic self as I helped others, and that I was unapologetic about it. So my dissertation was actually on Black female assistant principals, their self-confidence and their leadership skills, and how mentoring plays an integral role in ensuring that Black females feel as if they belong in the seats that they sit in. Black Women Education Leaders, Inc., the organization, was founded because of that feeling of isolation at that time, of me being in that suburban rural division where I felt as if I were the only. Within my building, I was one of 8 Black people, period. And so sometimes I just felt really isolated. It was a tough situation for me. But it was important for me to make sure that if I'm feeling this way, someone else probably is too. I needed to create a community, and I didn't see that one had yet existed, where women across the country, and now we even have some international members in Be Well, but where women all around the country and the world could have a place where they could come together, be amplified, be edified, and make sure that we were cultivating each other so that our leadership skills would adapt, that we would grow, that we would be productive for the schools that we serve and the communities that we intended to serve. So, the works they all sort of interconnect. The dissertation, Be Well, this present work, it all ties into making sure that Black women have a place where they can have their voices amplified, where they can be edified, and where they can always be elevated. That is the entire premise of all the things that I've been doing recently in terms of Black women and our leadership ability.
And first of all, I just want to say thank you for stepping out and doing that work, because we don't always fill the gap. We see the need a lot. We often see the need, but it's not always that we step up and feel the need.
Sure.
And so that's exactly, first of all, what you did with the organization, what you're doing here, because we put out that call and we were looking for specific stories,
Yes.
specific journeys. We had hundreds of people interested. It was almost overwhelming, the number of people that were interested. But I know you were very specific in knowing what you wanted showcased in this first volume. And so leading with that, I'm going to go to the authors and ask, what was your motivation to answer the call of the authors, becoming a contributing author for this? And we're going to go with Ms. Gray, Dr. Bradley, and then also with Dr. Williams.
Thank you. So for me, I got excited about the project because I've always want to share my story. I have an interesting path to leadership. I think I've always been a leader in the classroom. And so having African American female leaders as mentors, pseudo mentors, not knowing that they were pouring into me along my journey, I felt it was necessary that I had an opportunity to do that for someone else. You never know who's watching. And so, like Dr. Younger, this is my first experience being in a suburban district. Representation matters. And when you look around the room and there's you and 2 others, and you being the only one that's actually a leader, it speaks volumes. And I had not had that experience before. So I thought this is an opportunity for me to share what it's like to come on the other side, having led in predominantly African American spaces, but now seeing the contrast. I thought it was important to open that door for others who are seeking leadership opportunities and wondering, can I actually do this in spaces where I don't see me? So excited to share my journey in this book.
So for me, this was just something that, sometimes you don't think you have a story to tell until you start telling the story. And so as I started to tell my story, I realized, or just think about what I've been through. I realized my journey from Louisiana, because I'm original Louisiana girl, to Texas. And I look at my resume and I think, okay, I've done all these things. And I look at each of those titles and I look at the leadership behind those titles. And I wanted to be able to share with other leaders things that weren't shared with me early on, to give them a head start in their leadership growth and enhancing their leadership capacity. Just be an open door, an open book for those leaders so that they can get to where they want to be and need to be. So it was just an opportunity for me to just share my story and realize I did have a story to tell. And you always think you're on this island, like nobody's experiencing this but me, nobody's going through this but me. But I know that the work that I do and the things that I've done, the places that God has led me, is not just for me. He put me there so that I can help and lift and grow others. And so I'm just super excited about that opportunity.
I have to echo the sentiments of Ms. Gray and Dr. Bradley. This opportunity for me, it basically just leaped out at me. And so, I mean, without even thinking about it, I knew that this was the opportunity that I needed to embrace. And so, definitely have had a very unorthodox path to leadership myself, and also being a Louisiana native as well. Looking back over the 26-year career, I've learned a lot, and of course, what better way to pay it forward than using that extracted wisdom for the next upcoming emerging set of leaders, and just to let them know, you know what, you can do it. We did it, you can do it too. So that was basically my motivation and rationale for jumping upon and being a part of this amazing, iconic project.
And we are so excited that all of you said yes. So thank you so much. And so that leads me to your chapters. I have had the privilege over the last several months of going through reading these amazing journeys. And what we want to do now is just take the time, starting with Dr. Younger, and just sharing just a little bit about what readers can expect when they get this amazing work that you're producing that will be released in March. Tell us, if you will, the name of your chapter, what you want them to get out of it, and just anything else you want to share without giving away too much.
Sure, I'm hoping that the title sort of does a lot of the work for me. The title of my chapter is When the Mirror Leads Back to Me: Mentorship, Confidence, and Becoming the Leader I Needed. And I hope that tells you everything that you're going to learn in this chapter, because really and truly, again, a lot of this is adapted work from my dissertation. But what I really hope that people take away from it is, as all of these ladies on screen have already sort of echoed, the rawness of it, right? Our goal is to be authentic so that someone coming behind us can see themselves and their story as it unfolds. Because we need people to believe in their abilities to do this work. We need people to stop saying that there's imposter syndrome. Let that go. We can do hard things. There is nothing that is beyond us. We are people who have been through amazing historical barriers and obstacles. And so there is nothing that we're not able to do. And I want people to see that rawness and realness in the chapter. And as I'm sort of unfolding and letting people know some anecdotal things, but also some of the information that's coming straight from my dissertation in terms of statistical evidence about what mentoring does, I just want them to see themselves and see their own stories and see that their upward trajectory is just within reach.
And, you really spoke to something, Dr. Younger, that we both really honed in. We just didn't want the glory. We didn't want the victories, right?
Absolutely.
The achievements. That's the false narrative that people have now, right? You get that on social media, you get all the good. And so we were very specific about wanting the good, the bad, and the ugly,
Absolutely.
right? Because that's where, as we look at bringing people forward, this is what's going to help them.
Absolutely.
I'm a true believer that when people see that you've overcome certain things, it allows them to overcome.
Absolutely.
When
Yeah.
they see that it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really the premise of what this is. Yes, everyone, every author in this book have achieved great things, but we didn't do it without scars.
That's it.
And so I think that's very important. So thank you for touching on that. Danny, just a
Absolutely.
little bit about your chapter.
Yes, so my chapter title is The Power of the Pivot, and it was definitely a labor of love because sometimes when you're telling your story, you have to remember your own vulnerabilities. And so I talked a lot in my chapter about how, one, boundaries are important. Sometimes we get super comfortable in our roles and we think that the people that we work with are like family. They are not. Those are your coworkers. And so I learned some hard lessons along the way. And in leaving a role that no longer served me with my mental health, I found myself in need of a job, and that had never happened before. How dare I, someone with all these credentials, have to actually look for a job with some earnest potential? And so I was humbled, thank you, God, and had to accept or had the opportunity to accept an assistant principal role, having never been an assistant principal. Because of the trajectory of my leadership journey, I went straight from leader to principal and had not been co-captain. And so I'm serving in that co-captain capacity now, and I've learned a lot about my leadership. But initially, I was jaded, and I felt some type of way. And so I want to encourage those who are in positions where you have to switch districts, switch roles, switch titles. Titles are just words. It is okay to start over and become someone new. And you don't even know that you have to do that unless God puts you in a position where you have no other choice. And so that is where I am now, and serving in a new space, an unexpected space. And so I want to encourage someone who may have to take a step back and become different, but still being a leader. And so the power of the pivot, because there's power behind change, whether you wanted it or not, there is still power in that change.
My God, that's the resilience that we're talking about. I love that. I love that, Danny. I love that. Dr. Bradley, can you share a little bit about your chapter?
Absolutely. The title of my chapter is Grounded by Faith, Forged by Fire. And in that, in my chapter, I realized my faith. The roles that I've had throughout my educational trajectory have not been roles that are similar to anyone else. I went from being a high school counselor to the director of benefits, and there's no playbook for that. And being in rooms where I'm the only African American female, only female, period, and just having to navigate those waters and prove myself. And so in my book, what you can expect to see is that, yes, we have titles. Your resume may be filled with titles, but it's the story behind those titles that make the leader.
So, without giving the chapter away, the title of my chapter is From the Skillet to the Frying Pan. And so, in a nice nutshell, my desire is that when the reader reads my chapter, they need to understand that no matter how hot the fire is, no matter the intensity of the fire, guess what? You can make it through it because you're a fireproof kind of educational leader. And so, Dr. Bradley and and Miss Gray have already articulated a little bit of what was in my chapter as well. So it just shows you how how God has everything aligned. So that is the title of my chapter.
I love it. You all have some hot titles. I love it. I love it. And so this is really my next question really speaks to your perspective. How do you define leadership through the lens of a Black woman in education? Dr. Younger.
I can start by saying for Black women, leadership is every bit of a cultural thing for us. A lot of the research that I looked into as I began writing my dissertation had to do with just the historical aspect of Black teachers, predominantly those during the 19th century, really seeing it as their absolute business to ensure that their race was educated. They saw that as a personal responsibility. And I will tell you that a lot of Black women today still feel that fire. Whether you work in a predominantly African American school division or you serve in a school division where no one at all looks like you, we still feel if there are African American students that are being attended to, it is absolutely our job to make sure that those students advance and that those students are supported and they receive what they need to be successful. Many of us just feel it's what they refer to as a mothering because we really do believe that we have a task to take care and uplift our race. And so, again, when it comes to leadership, a lot of the research sort of asserts that for Black women, we are transformational in that sense because we have a true passion and desire to ensure that we are uplifting our race at all times, no matter what the situation and what the context is.
And unapologetically, I would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are there for all students,
Yes.
but we do have a special place in our heart for students of the African diaspora because we know what they've had to endure as a people.
I love it. Danielle.
I would say to piggyback on Dr. Younger, I think we're in a space as Black female leaders where we have to be intentional about our representation. We have to show up as our authentic self, even when it's scary, even when we're in spaces where there are not a lot of people that look like us. To your point, Dr. Younger, when you see a brown baby in a building where they are the chocolate chip in the cookie, you feel encouraged and inspired to make sure that they're taken care of, that you're saying hello, that you're checking in, you're making connection with their family because it matters. Our presence matters, and we have to get into a space, especially in this current political climate, where we're not there by accident because the world will shrink us over and over again. Even in 2026 now, they want us to believe that we are not good enough, not supposed to be there, not powerful, cannot lead. And we have to show our young people we can, we do it better than everyone else. And we have to hold that banner in all the spaces that we walk in. And it's so hard. It's so hard to look across the room and not see yourself, but we have to because someone is watching and it's our future generation. And so I take it as a privilege to show up as myself. And sometimes that means having really hard conversations with people that don't look like you, but it matters because the lifeline of our people is on the line. And so education is something that can't be taken away. And so I hold that as an honor and a privilege to be that person in those spaces.
Thank you for that. Dr. Bradley.
So when I think about Black women and the strengths that we have in educational leadership, it really goes back to my upbringing. And my mother used to tell us all the time, you know, whatever you do it with excellence beyond excuses. And that has really that has pivoted me or forced me into, it's part of what I do every day. And so as a leader, period, be it an African American leader, a Black leader or not, it's that excellence beyond excuses because sometimes people are looking for a reason to cast you aside. They're looking for a reason to tell you no, but you have to be your authentic self and don't ever let anybody define who you are as a person, as a leader, and you just have to show up. You have to show up. You have to take the chance. You have to be in the space, create the space. You have to be where your feet are, but know where you also want your feet to go.
Oh, yes.
And so it's just amazing to be able to, I just want to be able to advocate for people who look like me because as I started writing this, I realized I didn't grow up with, can't remember having a single Black teacher in my entire K through 12. And I was the only little Black girl in most of my classes. And so it was my mother. I can honestly say my mother was also always that leader for me. And so I want to be that. I want to be that vessel. I want to be that role model. I want to be that catalyst to help other leaders get to where they want to go.
Wow, I love that. Ooh, Dr. Williams.
So, educational leadership from the lens of an African American woman, it's rooted in several things: purpose, resilience, responsibility, and then understanding and embracing the awareness that my presence alone is powerful because I carry that wisdom. Without titles, without recognition. And of course, it is both bold and nurturing. So, with that, knowing when to challenge the system and know when to care for people at the same time. But even more so, leadership is not just about authority, it's about making an impact. It is about modeling that authenticity, it's about leading with that cultural competence, refusing to shrink to make other people comfortable. It is faith informed, it is justice centered, it is community minded, and really to just encapsulate it all. Leadership as a Black woman for me is the courage to show up in those spaces being fully myself, unapologetic, strategic, visionary, while at the same time encouraging others to do the same.
And everything that you all said, and we did it from the lens of the Black woman and looking at the Black and brown student. But everything that we've also said is also important for non-Black and brown individuals to see and to know that we exist. You know what I'm saying? And I think we oftentimes forget that. But you have the mirror, but you also have the window, and people need to see through the window to see the caliber of individuals that we as a Black woman that we represent. And so I appreciate all of that, because it is from your perspective of a Black woman leadership leader that you define what that leadership means to you. So thank you. Let's talk about mentors, because many of us, we really have had some amazing men and women to help you along the way. Some maybe not so much, but I'm sure if you really think about it, there are one or two or three individuals along your journey, whether starting as a teacher all the way through your leadership, that have really helped cultivate your leadership. Can you talk about that, Dr. Younger?
Sure, and I'm just nodding in agreement because I'm thinking back when you talk about a mentor, especially from a lot of what I've learned. The mentor doesn't necessarily have to be somebody within your field, right? So my first mentor is my mother. I heard that already mentioned, that mom was mentor. My mom absolutely was my mentor because my mom has always been in a leadership role as an employee. She's always led others. But then I also have other mentors. One of my mentors, a white female, Kelly Horner. She is one of my favorite people. And she mentored me during the pandemic when life was really rough. And she got me through. And I mentioned her, and I always do, because I had 7 findings with 3 implications. And one of the findings was that relationships, commitment, and trust mattered more than race or gender to Black females. We don't care who you are. We just want you to show up for us, to commit to us, and to establish that trust. And you are good to go in terms of a mentor. And so, with Kelly Horner being one of my mentors, my mother being a mentor to me, also one of my current mentors is Miss Beverly Britt. She's a former principal, an amazing human being, just someone who is willing to invest and not just tell you what you want to hear, but to push you.
Yes.
So sometimes you need those people to just push. Another thing that I kind of found in the research was that for a lot of us Black females, we really do desire to have multiple mentors. Sometimes our mentors are those who help push us a little bit. Sometimes our mentors are those who are just loving and they're affirming. Sometimes our mentors have those skills that we desire to have. They're great at data analytics. They're perfect at organizational management. We seek out mentors everywhere. And that is one of the beautiful things I think about Black women as I did my work, is that we don't just stop at one person, whether the person is assigned from the division or not. We're going to seek out and request help from anyone who is around us that's willing to invest in us. And I think that's just always important to put out there. Please don't limit yourself in terms of your mentors. Find a mentor to help you build and grow in areas where you have a deficit.
I love it. Danny.
So I have 2 mentors that kind of got me into this whole leadership craziness a long time ago. The first one was my principal when I was a young teacher, and she was African American, and we were in a turnaround school, so we were trying to do all the things, save the babies. And it was interesting because in my mind, I was just a 3rd grade teacher. And she asked me just randomly, what's your 5-year plan? And I was like, I don't have a 5-year plan. I'm going to do this for 30 years and then I'm going to retire because that's what they said at teacher orientation. And she said, no, I'll come back to you, but you need to have a plan by the end of the week. And I was scratching my head, y'all, because I literally was like, why isn't she listening to me? I'm here to teach and I'm out. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to be in charge. But that conversation sat in the back of my mind for the rest of the school year. And she kept nudging and kept nudging. And she saw something in me that I had zero clue was even happening behind the scenes with the way that I was leading my classroom. And the second mentor was actually our deputy superintendent and African American, and when she walked in a room, you knew she was in the room. I literally was like, she is like the Oprah Winfrey of our district. And I was admiring her from afar. And I had an opportunity as a teacher to write model lessons. That was a big thing in Cincinnati Public Schools. And I just signed up. I didn't even know she knew my name. But I'm telling you, when the Lord puts you in a position where people are saying things about you, future things that you don't even know have your name on them, she pulled me to the side. And years later, we're in this capacity where I'm an instructional coach on her team. How do you even know me? But it's because he's planting seeds along the way. And so sometimes you're not even asking the person to mentor you. You're just absorbing who they are to other people, and that in itself mentors you. And so sometimes that relationship develops organically, and sometimes you got to pick up the phone, future leaders, and you got to make a connection, take someone out for coffee, pick their brain, ask them all the questions, because sometimes we're waiting for someone to tap us. Sometimes we need to knock on some doors and say, I think I want to do this. And so I want to make sure that that message is captured on both sides, because sometimes you have to be the one to facilitate that conversation.
Absolutely. Wow. Dr. Bradley.
So I think as I've gone through my mentors and sponsors, I just started writing names and I got excited because I start with just Dr. Charlotte Davis, who, when I first became a teacher, she was a counselor. And I knocked on her door. I went to her and I was like, I want to do what you're doing. And she brought me in, put me under her wing, and I was able to become a counselor. My former principal, Ken Knipple, saw in me something that I didn't know. You never know who's watching. You never know who's watching, but always believe there somebody's watching you. And so he gave me an opportunity to be a counselor, and then just helped me spearhead my career along the way. Just supported me, just gave me that guidance, that advice, that drone level view of things to just help me accelerate. I have to say Gloria Cavazos, because she gave me my first role in district leadership. Without her, I never would have gone to district leadership. I can't leave out my pastor, because Terry K. Anderson has been my spiritual grounding. And because days get hard, times get hard, decisions get hard, and you have to fall back on your faith. And so he really helps me to do that. A current superintendent, Daniela Ola, who is, she just opens her mind, her doors, everything to you. She's an open book, and she says your name in rooms that you're not even in. And that's what we need, not just mentors, but sponsors, people who are looking to help you get to that next level. I probably wouldn't have become a director of benefits without Tawana Collier, because she said, girl, you better go apply for that job. And so I did. And so I think back to that, and I thank her for that. My current superintendent, Latanya Goffney, has been just amazing support to me. And my sister, who's not my sister, my work sister, Ruby Allen, she's that mentor that tells you what you need to hear, the way you need to hear it, and she's unapologetic about it. And I need that, because I need all of that. So I had a list. I probably could have gone on, but there's so many people who have just helped me get to where I am, and I would be remiss. And my sister, I have to say my sister, because I can call my sister with the craziest idea and she'll say, okay, Kina, what are we going to do? How do you want to do that? So it's that support I just can't let go of. But mentors and sponsors, networking, making sure that, like Danny said, knocking on doors, telling people where you want to be. If you can see yourself there, provide an avenue to get yourself there. You're not always going to be pulled. Sometimes you got to go push that door in to get in there.
I love it. Wow. And I love when you call the name. It does something to me because I really believe that we have to affirm those
Yes.
that have helped us along the way. And that's what that does for me. So thank you for that. Dr. Williams.
You know, it's so funny. Dr. Bradley, every single name you called, I know every last one of those
Wow.
people. Every last one of them.
Wow.
Because I worked in Aldine Independent School District for about 8 years. So I know every last one of those
That's
individuals.
amazing.
It
And
is
so I'm over here
amazing.
like, yeah, yeah. For me, of course, everyone has already said this, but I'm going to say it because I know that this individual is going to catch this. Definitely, it all started, I think my ultimate mentor was my grandmother, who is watching from the heavens. And then, of course, from there, my mother, Dr. Dewana Williams Greer. She's going to be watching. Hey, Mama. And so, definitely, that foundation was so solid. And the beautiful part about me, when I think about it, I come from a legacy of educators. From my mother, my grandmother, my uncle, my aunts. So the just I was just blessed. I was blessed with, those conversations over dinner regarding everything relating to education as far as us African American students and teachers were concerned. Let me see. Definitely my favorite elementary school teacher, Miss Sherry Lacey. Now she's Sherry Garrett. And then my favorite high school teacher, which is the reason why I started in the area of mathematics and science, Bobby Butler. She was nobody's joke. Let me tell you, nobody's joke. And so, from what I was told, a lot of my high school classmates would tell me, you ain't nothing but Miss Butler, just a darker version of her. And so, definitely, when I think about her, I'm just so grateful. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for Miss Butler, I wouldn't have had the courage to even consider crossing over into administration. I was just in fear, and you have to take exams, and I'm not that good of a test taker, and she just looked at me and just was like, I don't care how many times you take that test, you're going to pass it. You will not be in the classroom the remaining of your career. I don't care how long it takes you, you will get there. And so I remember calling her just screaming with tears in my eyes, like, finally I got here. And so, and then of course, definitely have to give shout outs to 8 African American men who definitely played a part in mentoring me in administration. Oh my goodness. I call them my kings because, of course, I was the queen. But the king, they really, when I say Ahmad Trailer poured into me like nobody's business, Ricky Duncan poured into me. I mean, the list goes on and on. And even Dr. Bradley mentioned her pastor. My pastors have been absolutely amazing. Of course, the pastor that I was under, he's deceased now, Pastor Charles L. Stevenson. He was so, instrumental in my career as it pivoted into administration.
Wow.
He said, uh, uh, you might as well get yourself together because you're already there. You're already there. Just go on and embrace it. And then, of course, my current principal, Dr. Angel Murphy, my current superintendent, Dr. Mark Portery, they have been absolutely amazing mentors. Always have an open door policy. There is no question too aloof or too crazy or wild. And I mean, I am just so very, very, very thankful for them. And like the other co-authors have said, and like Dr. Younger said, sometimes not only do you have to like push the door, sometimes you just got to kick it down and
Absolutely.
just have that never say die attitude. Just have that, guess what? I'm coming. I know what I want, and I'm going to do everything within my power to possess and obtain and ascertain what I know God put in me to walk in. And so I'm very grateful for the various mentors and sponsors who have just sown so many powerful seeds
Yeah.
into my career. Yes.
And I think that is necessary to acknowledge that. So thank you for taking the time to do that. And I cannot not ask, when I ask about mentors, I cannot ask the other side of that. How do you intentionally support and develop other Black women and other emergent leaders? And if you want to just jump in, you can. I can call you. Dr. Younger, I'm just going to start with you. But if you have something to say, please just jump right in. Dr. Young, I'm going to start with you, though.
Sure. And I'm glad that as I'm listening to my co-authors, they've all similarly said a lot about their faith, right? And how much that sustains and guides them.
Yeah.
And so when I think about how I intentionally support and develop other Black women, it really stems from my faith. That's my impetus. So I do it because of my love of God, and I want to support and uplift others. And one of the things that was very intentional about the establishment of Be Well, from being a social media site to becoming a full-fledged 501c3 organization, was that we needed to be a service organization. So everything that we put in place was about how do we uplift and motivate. We have mentoring programming, which is available to help pair up those who are in need of a mentor. We have scholarship. I heard mention of, I think it was Dr. Williams who said, she had to take the school leadership assessment. That's a pretty expensive assessment for a lot of people across the country. And so we offer scholarship money to offset that funding so that that will not be a barrier to any Black woman who desires to go into education leadership. We have book talks so that people have an opportunity to listen to and learn from authors who have written about leadership. We also do a lot of things in terms of professional development. Some of them are free, some of them may be paid options. But the whole goal, again, was how do we make sure that since those of us who are presently in school leadership are already thriving, how do we bring in that next generation? And it's always about what is it that we can do to either uplift those who are just starting as leaders or bring in those who aspire to leadership so that they get the support and mentoring that they need.
I love that. And I would also add, because you talked about the aspiring and even the emerging, but even for seasoned leaders, there's so much the organization, just bringing in community, just
absolutely. That's the key,
just,
right?
You know
that
what I'm saying? Because
key.
sometimes you just need to be in community with others, and it allows that. So I just wanted to add that on. Danny, you have any specific ways?
Yeah, so I would say that one thing that I'm super proud of over my career is that I have been able to mentor some of my former teachers into leadership roles, and they're still holding those roles. And nothing gives you more pleasure than knowing that what you've done to cultivate a desire to be a leader comes to fruition when they get through the interview process and they get that first opportunity, and then that opportunity becomes a second opportunity, and they still contact you and connect with you and ask questions. And then on the other side of that is my own little sisterhood. I will say we call ourselves the Principals, but it's a collective of principal girlfriends that I have that kind of grew organically. Like it was myself and another, and then we brought one along, and now we're a group of 7, one who will be retiring, one who is already retired, different walks of life, all African American, and just being engaged in different district experiences. But we use our group chat just to empower each other. It's a safe space to share your challenges, share the funny things that kids and parents and staff do every day that you can't tell anyone else. It goes in the group chat, but also to encourage each other when it's hard, when you have to have conversations about when people aren't treating you right and you can't talk to your staff about it. You need that external group. And so we collectively support each other through all things leadership, as well as have a genuine friendship. And that was birthed because we were all leaders in different spaces looking for connection. So future leaders, all of your friends, your friend group in your building, you have to expand that outside of your building, because there are conversations you cannot have with your staff that you have to get it off your chest. Absolutely. And so find your tribe is so important. But then also as you're interviewing, teachers, start to ask different questions when you bring them on board about what their future aspirations may be, because it may be the principal's seat, but they're too afraid to tell you. And so make sure that you're building that relationship with them just to know, especially people of color, what do you want to do? Because we need more of us sitting in the big seat, as I call it.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Williams.
So as I'm listening, I think what's important is starting off by listening and creating that safe, affirming space where other Black women leaders can speak freely and be vulnerable. Because of course trust is the foundation to meaningful mentorship. And then of course we have to mentor, and I mentor from a holistic point of view, meaning that I'm just not focused in on them as a professional, but I'm focused on the whole person, their confidence, their wellness, making sure that they're setting and maintaining boundaries, and that type of thing. And then, of course, sharing access and not just advice. What does that mean? That means making strategic introductions and recommending opportunities that they should embark upon, and things of that nature. And then, of course, modeling that transparency. Just being raw and honest, including what we call the good, bad, and the ugly, the lessons that I learned, so that they can know that they're not alone. And yes, growth and change is possible. I think one of the things that is very important whenever we are reaching back and mentoring other Black women education leaders is that we keep in mind community over competition. So what does that look like? That looks like celebrating her loudly, encouraging that collaboration, and helping her realize that she's not in this thing by herself. And it's kind of like that Vidal Sassoon commercial, when you look good, we look good. And so, of course, pouring in to Black women education leaders, it is a legacy work. It is how we ensure sustainability and strength and freedom for those that are coming behind us.
Awesome. Dr. Bradley, did you have anything?
I'll jump in. We've talked about networking, but I just want to elaborate that on just a little bit. Find people who are where you want to be, and then and connect yourself with those leaders. Be open to coaching. Coaching is a catalyst. It's not criticism. If you have someone that you can really trust to be a coach, and trust them to tell you what's good for you, and not a self-serving answer or response, that's golden. I make it a habit not to take criticism, not to take advice from anyone I wouldn't take criticism from. So I think that's important. And then the last thing is, don't self-reject. Don't tell yourself no. I push any leader that I have, if this is something that you want to do, if this is a place where you want to go, figure out how to get there and go for it. Don't deny yourself. You don't put that burden on yourself. There's only two things that can happen. Either you're going to win or you're going to grow. And either way, you're going to be better for it. So I try to encourage leaders just to be authentically themselves. Don't ever let anybody define who you are as a leader. You have to know yourself, know who you are, and be you unapologetically.
I love it. So guys, we have about 10 minutes left. We have several questions from our attendees. So I will start that. And so if you have something to respond to, please just jump right in, and so we can get in as many as possible. The first question is, did any of the authors pursue alternative pathways to licensure, such as options other than a traditional graduate degree and becoming a principal or an assistant principal?
I guess I can answer that. I was one of the ones that obtained my licensure through our Education Service Center, which is Region 4. And I did that because I had already obtained everything else up to that point. And so that was the path that literally God was like, this is the way that you're going to get your licensure. And the reason I'm so glad that I went through Region 4. Number one, it was everything was online. Number two, I didn't have to worry about sitting in graduate classes 3 nights a week from 6 to 9 after I've dealt with kids and parents and families and external stakeholders all day. So it just worked out perfectly for me. And so that was the path that I went through to obtain licensure.
Thank you. All right, the next question. What strategies have you found to be effective in reducing the high turnover rate of teachers in your school or the education field?
I don't know that I have a foolproof strategy, but I can say the most impactful leadership experience I had was when we spent a lot of time building our community as colleagues. And so I followed a leader that was very by the book. I am in charge and you do what I tell you to do. And so when I initially started in the role of principal, people weren't buying what I was selling because I'm the culture queen and they were waiting for the shoe to drop. But I was very intentional about spending the time to get to know them, to get to tell me more about your family. How long have you been here? So I had a lot of lifers in the building. So I had a lot of lifers and I had people that didn't look like me leading children that looked like me. And so I knew I had to get in at the ground level and show some vulnerability on my side. But I think that allowed our team to gel in a way that they hadn't done before. We had to work on building a lot of trust. And I think once we had that, then I was just open to their ideas. They had a lot of ideas about what they wanted to do to serve kids. And I had to work on my biases, like people that don't look like me can serve our kids with the right leadership. And so we partnered up in that way. And I was able to build relationships with them and the parents. Parents would come to me and not them. And I'm like, that's your child's teacher. You got to talk to them. But also showing them why parents were apprehensive about buying what they were selling, because I think Dr. Sharon, you talked about the mirror in the window. Parents were looking for the mirror. And the mirror was there, but they had been used to the window. And so I had to educate the parents along the way. And I think just building the bridge of cultural relationships in the building gets everybody to stay longer, the kids, the parents, and your staff.
Wow. Thank you for that. Okay, the next question. What would you say to those who say that Black women continue to be overlooked and overworked and not valued, not only within society, but in the field of education?
I would say that may be true, but that should not deter you from doing exactly what you feel like you have been called to do. There's always going to be obstacles. There are going to be pitfalls. There are going to be setbacks, but you have to stay steadfast on whatever your goal is and put yourself in a position strategically, position yourself to overcome every single one of those obstacles, and then tell someone else how you did it so that they don't fall into those pits. We have to lift as we rise. We have to do it.
I love it. Thank you. Okay. How do you balance day-to-day activities outside of your profession, such as family, vacation, and hobbies?
I don't.
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Williams. Look, I don't know.
I
don't know if I have the best answer for that.
Go ahead, Dr. Latrice.
Because I think it's really tough to try to create balance because sometimes things will not be balanced. But what you can do is make sure that you are making room and making space. And so my recommendation is always to really prioritize how you're spending your time during the day. Be very intentional about your calendar. It is your best friend. Put down what it is you intend to do. Yes, things may happen. You may have to pivot, but at least come in with a game plan every single day so that you can do as much as you humanly can while you are in that building, and you can give yourself to your family and your loved ones when you exit it. But happy to hear from you too, Dr. Williams.
Well, I was to add to what you said, Dr. Latrice. I think the main thing is setting those boundaries and sticking to them. You know, Everyone knows, do not email me on weekends. My weekends are mine. Okay. I love you. And I will answer your email on the next business day. Okay. And so being intentional about sticking to your boundaries. Okay. Unless it is a dire emergency. Do not call me after 3 p.m. unless it is again, and we know life be life in. But at the end of the day, these are the boundaries that I've set so that I can protect my peace and my mental and emotional, spiritual well being. I know everybody on this line can say amen to that. And so, in order for me to do that, I have to prioritize and make certain that my boundaries are non negotiable.
Thank
And
you.
I would add to that. Oh, I'm sorry, Doctor.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We are now in a space, and I am learning this in real time. 51, marching to 52. Thank you, Jesus. We have to regulate our nervous system before we get to work. So if that means you are getting up in the morning a little bit earlier, if you're doing your meditation, your devotion, what are you listening to on your way to work? Because I was the young leader that would check my cell phone for who's not coming to work, whose mama's mad, all the things. And I would be so tight. By the time I got to the door, you're in the parking lot shaking because the fires are coming anyway. So in this season, in the great season of Fierce 51, we are making sure that we are regulating our nervous system. We are pouring in before we get to the door. It's critical. People are not making it to 52 because they are doing all the things but taking care of themselves. So I implore those who are on the call, please find a thing that helps you to regulate your nervous system. They will replace you, y'all. They will replace you if something happens to you. So make sure nothing happens to you that you can control. So that's my 67.5 cents.
I love it.
We have to do it. Have to do it, ladies.
Okay, and there's just two more questions, so I want to get in both of those questions. Has any of the authors felt that they needed a change from the education field? If so, how did they process that, and what led them back to this field? Anyone experience that?
Took a slight change. I pivoted from being an assistant principal to working at the State Department. I was a school quality coordinator, which essentially means I did school improvement. And what brought me back to this work was I completed my dissertation and said it makes sense to now put into practice all the things that I've learned. And so that brought me back into the school environment. So just a little roundabout way. I didn't exactly leave education, but I did leave the traditional K-12 environment at a school and decided it was time to return back to it.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, the last question, how can we obtain a copy? Yep, we're going to get there. So definitely we're going to get there. And then just a few comments here's the last one. Thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your stories. I cannot wait to read this book once released in March. What advice would you give to early career Black women who is realizing that district leadership, 4 years K-12 charter, business-oriented work is misaligned with their values and feel more called to student-facing, school-based leadership, but struggle with whether making that shift is me stepping back rather than stepping into the work and doing the harder thing, especially in spaces where there are so few Black women in district level roles. The constant C-suite politics and red tape can be deeply draining, particularly when white counterparts can say the same exact thing I've said, and suddenly the idea is treated as golden. That's loaded.
Yeah, loaded. That's a lot. Well, go ahead, Dr. Bradley. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just an eternal. My mom was literally my first teacher, literally in Head Start. And, if it's what you want to do, you go for it and you do it. The politics are going to be there. The obstacles are going to be there. But if it's what you want to do, you go for it and you do it, whether it be education, whether it be corporate, and you may have to take a step back just to take a step forward. You might have to reassess the situation or the climate for what it is, see it for what it is, and then see how you can impact it. We are powerful as Black women. We are powerful as leaders, and we can shift the space in a room just by walking in when we know what we want and we're determined to get there. I just believe that.
I love it. I love it, guys.
I think one thing that I was thinking about as Dr. Bradley was sharing, and I hate to kind of pull my faith into this, but I think the main thing is having the boldness to speak truth to power, and knowing, okay, this is what our kids need. This is the plan by which to get there, to shift from the business aspect. And yes, the red tape is going to be there, the politics is going to be there, all of the isms are going to be there, but just having the boldness and having the courage to speak truth to power, and if necessary, keeping in mind with what Dr. Bradley and Ms. Gray have shared, keeping in mind also your mental and emotional health and all those things, and regulating your nervous system. So if it means that you have to take a step back and woosah and all of that and then engage, but when you engage from a feminine space of power, and also truth, and also your documentation as well. That's important.
So, ladies, it is time for us to close, but we cannot do that without you sharing where our audience can connect with you. Where can they go when the book is released to find out where they can purchase it from you? So if you would, starting with Dr. Younger, please share all of the ways individuals can connect with you and follow you.
For sure. I'll be succinct. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm on there as Latrice Younger, Dr. Latrice Younger. And I'm also on X as at Latrice Younger.
Thank you, Danny.
I'm on LinkedIn as Danielle N. Gray, and I'm on Instagram, lady_Gray11, and also on Facebook as Danny Gray.
Okay. And Dr. Bradley?
LinkedIn as Keena Bradley, and on X as KSB_PhD.
And Dr. Williams?
On LinkedIn, it's just my name, Verinda Williams, PhD. Yeah. And then on Facebook, it's my first name, Verinda, last name Williams. And then on X and IG, it is at DRVS Williams.
Love it. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, audience, for tuning in for us. And I'm just reminded that Black Women in Education and Leadership is not just a book. It is a mirror, a roadmap, and a legacy document that you will not regret purchasing and reading. The voices you heard today, they reflect courage, they reflect clarity and commitment, not only to leadership roles, but to people, communities, and our future leaders. These authors have shown us that leadership is not about position alone. It's about purpose. It's about preparation and persistence. So to every attendee tonight who see themselves in these stories and who's still finding your confidence, because we know that's a thing too. We want you to step into leadership and know this: your voice matters. Your lived experiences is leadership capital, and you do not have to walk this journey alone. So I encourage you to support this work, engage with our authors. They've given you all of their social media information. Please connect with them, so you will be the first to know when the book is available for purchase. We want to thank you again to our incredible authors. And again, this is just the first night. We have 2 more nights, the next one being next Saturday at 12 noon, and also next Monday, which is the final one, which will be again at 7 p.m. So again, thank you. And if you enjoyed it, Please, there will be a recording. That was one of the questions. Yes, this is recorded, and I will have it out so that you can enjoy it at your leisure. Thank you all, and we can't wait for you to purchase the book. Have a great evening.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.